My 25 male, girlfriend, 27 female, never stops talking about marriage, and it's getting out of hand plus update. My girlfriend and I have been dating for 4 years. We get along beautifully, and I adore her. We've spoken about getting married someday, but I've been feeling a lot of strain recently. She is always bringing up the subject of marriage. Every phrase she says begins with, "when we get married" or something similar. Her sister lately began referring to me as bro-in-law. Also, for some reason, many of our friends seem to assume we're going to get married soon. Yet when I questioned my girlfriend about it, she stated she had no idea why. It's as if everyone is pressuring me to marry her, and it's worrying me out. She's also begun wedding planning quietly, and I haven't even proposed yet. The thing about me is that I have a very firm plan for my life. I created it over 6 years ago, long before I ever met her. It's a real plan. I got it all written down. My lady already knows about my life plan. She's seen it a few times, and she knows that getting married before the age of 30 isn't in it. She's expressed many times that she's on board with my plan and thinks it's terrific that I've got my life worked out. But then she turns around and puts additional pressure on me with the whole marriage stuff. I really want to marry her. Just not right now. I had already chosen to marry between the ages of 30 and 33, and I assumed she was okay with it. That's the plan, and if I deviate from it, things tend to go wrong for me. She keeps bringing up marriage, but when I ask her, "Babe, you're still okay with waiting, right?" She always says the right things, of course. We're already spending the rest of our lives together, so I'm not in a hurry. Then she turns around and says and does things that make me think she's not okay with waiting. I'm not sure what to do. I'd appreciate some suggestions on how to address this without upsetting her emotions. Thank you ahead of time. Update. The thought of deviating from the plan was so terrifying to me that I didn't even realize I had done so a long time before. Throughout my first few years of college, I was very irresponsible and made a number of costly blunders. As a result, I reasoned that I need a definite path of action. My personality lends itself to this kind of working environment. I just do better when there are defined standards to follow and a written list of duties to accomplish. Consequently, I drew up a life plan and told myself, on a daily basis for the following 6 years, that I had to follow it. Neither the fact that the plan originally worked out for me nor the fact that things appeared to never work out for me once I decided to abandon it helped my situation. In retrospect, even though I deviated from the plan on many times and felt things had gone terribly wrong, I see that it was almost certainly unavoidable that things would go wrong even if I had followed the plan. Each of us makes poor decisions at some point in our lives, and many people go through tough times. I just coped with it by blaming myself for not following any kind of plan in an effort to make sense of everything that was happening to me at the time. I was under the impression that failure to carry out a strategy would result in negative consequences. In today's world, the idea of putting anything into words seems ridiculous. In actuality, the most wonderful things that have happened in my life were not planned. I had intended to spend my 20s just having fun, but when I met my partner, I realized that I had made a mistake. I continued persuading myself that I was still having a good time and that the situation did not qualify as a serious relationship. I made an effort to convince myself that I was still on track with the plan. It's all a complete farce at this point. Whatever the case may be, to make a long story short, I have plans to propose to my girlfriend on Christmas Eve, which happens to be somewhat of an anniversary for us. It'll be a long engagement, but it'll be necessary for financial reasons. I'm ready to get down to business, and I'm looking forward to it tremendously. My partner has been quite supportive. I was so preoccupied with making sure my life came out just as I wanted it to that I completely forgot about her being a part of it. I'm sure she must have felt like an outsider in her own relationship because of the way I was treating her. I couldn't stop thinking about myself and how my job and ambitions would turn out, and I didn't have a single thought about her throughout that time period. But I'm sick and tired of being so self-absorbed. Story 2. I, female 25, confessed to cheating on my long-term boyfriend, male 26. Hi. I am deserving of all of the world's fury and the worst things that may happen to me, but I just must get this off my chest. My partner and I met when we were both in college. Despite the fact that we met via the internet, we immediately clicked and have been dating for over 6 years, the bulk of which has been spent in a long-distance relationship. Despite the fact that we live in separate countries, we have maintained contact despite the fact that we have been away for a lengthy period of time. It is my intention to move in with him later this year. Every detail has been planned and we've been looking forward to this day for years. This is where I made a blunders. In addition, I have a large number of male friends with whom I often spend time alone, which I always inform my partner about. He isn't bothered by that since he believes in me. Nothing ever happened to me either. However, there was a time when I got drunk with a guy who I'd always thought was very attractive. In light of the fact that we are both deeply committed to our respective relationships, I had no intention of anything happening between us. In the middle of the night, he abruptly confessed his affections for me and I was both surprised and delighted. When I informed him that I liked him, he challenged me to a kiss on the lips. Well, curiosity got the better of me, and it showed itself in the form of physical manifestation. And it continued for 3 months in all. Although I attempted several times to end the relationship, my strength was insufficient, and I continued pulling him back to me. I had to go, but he insisted on keeping in touch with me. And we went on like this for a month until I realized what I was doing was wrong and disconnected the line completely, preventing the individual from going anywhere. As you may guess, I'm now dealing with the shame that follows, which I well deserve. The problem is that before to my affair, I was a person who was deprived of infidelity. I've never cheated on my fiancée, and those who did were horrified by my presence. As a result, I've become one of those people I loathe. I loathe and despise myself to such an extent that I am unable to express myself. I'm starting to feel like a walking. I'm well aware that I'm walking. For some months, I have been considering whether or not to notify him of my decision. In the event that I inform him, I will break his heart into a million pieces and say goodbye to the future that we have made together over the years. Unless I do, I'm being cruel and immoral, and I'm not sure I'll be able to live with the consequences of my actions. It's already consuming my life, and I feel it's progressed to the point of despair, from what I read about the symptoms. I spend who knows how many hours a day on Reddit, searching for other people's affair stories, and I have no idea what it is that I am looking for. After losing a significant amount of weight, I no longer sleep, eat, or think about anything else. I can hardly function. Finally, a few days ago, I realized that I couldn't keep him in the dark any longer, so I called him and told him the news over the phone since we live in different countries. Reddit, I was the one who shattered that guy. I broke up with the man I was supposed to spend the rest of my life with, the man I love more than anything else in the world. He sobbed, and it was the first time I'd ever heard him. I'll never forget how much I wounded his emotions by doing something stupid. Despite the fact that he is a social butterfly, he does not share his personal life with anybody else save me. It's far worse than that, he hasn't told anybody about it until now. Despite the fact that I know I don't deserve his forgiveness, much alone a second chance, I proceeded to express my regret over and over again. I've come to terms with the fact that we'll have to go on with other people eventually. I've done the unthinkable, and I have no right to ask him to stay by my side. Just look at myself, what an absolute I am, and what a complete and utter disaster I have created. For the sake of a dumb, cheap pleasure, I'm willing to sacrifice the person I love the most and our future together. Making a note of it does nothing to alleviate the situation. Please cheat if you want to do irreparable harm to your relationship and your own life.